Hi everyone, welcome to today's seminar. Hello, good to see at least some of you despite the heavy rains here. Today we have an interesting seminar given by Catarina Santos Lopes, and I would say let's kick it off. The stage is yours.
Well, good morning everyone, and thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to be presenting my work to all of you today, and I will talk a little bit about goals. And today the talk is, the title of the talk is An Anthropogenic Trap, Assessing the Gains and Costs of Anthropogenic Habitat Used by an Opportunistic Predator. Well, before diving into the data and the case study itself, I want to begin with the central focus of my research. How human activities like urbanization, fisheries and waste management are reshape the seabird ecology with effects on their behaviour, physiology, reproductive success and ultimately the population dynamics. Seabirds are excellent bioindicators of these complex changes because they are long-lived, they are top predators, and their ecology is linked to the marine and the terrestrial environments. Basically, these anthropogenic activities provide easy access to food, to abundant resources, which can be seen as a gain, but it also comes with some costs. This balance between gains and costs of exploiting these anthropogenic activities is the central point of this talk. To frame this discussion, my presentation will follow three steps. First, I will focus on my journey, on my academic path, which I will briefly outline my academic journey, which established my focus on seabird physiological trade-offs. And then I will introduce the large-scale projects here at the EBD, which provide a framework that allows me to continue my work. And finally, I will present my case study on quantifying the energetic costs of using these anthropogenic habitats. I'm from Portugal. And I did all of my academic path there in Portugal. I will briefly focus on my PhD at the University of Coimbra within the Marine and Environmental Science Center. It was a multi-phased project with a multidisciplinary team and gave me a structural foundation on this topic. I used gulls, particularly the yellow-legged gull, as a model to address the full spectrum of anthropogenic impact, from conceptual framework to plastic contamination and then experimental physiology. I will briefly focus on each one of these 3 points in a moment. I started by establishing the conceptual framework, the base of my work, by conducting reviews on seabirds as bioindicators of plastic and metal pollution, and also analyzing and reviewing the conflicts that arise when gulls move into more urban habitats. These two revisions were published in this book called The Seabird Biodiversity and Human Activities. Then I focused my research on plastic contamination in two ways. First, by large-scale contamination, large-scale quantification of plastic incorporated into gulls' nests, gulls from urban habitats and from more natural habitats, and I also related this plastic load with the reproductive success of those gulls. The upper image here, it's a gull nest from a urban habitat. All of this is a nest, this is a rock. And we can see with those marked circles, two pieces of plastic that were incorporated into the nest. But I can assure you that this nest had much more plastic within the nest. In fact, there is a curiosity about this colony and these nests, because they were located close to a football field with plastic grass the plastic grass, and we saw the gulls ripping off and integrated that kind of plastic, like small pieces of plastic, those green ones, integrated into these nests, and we found a lot of those plastics. Then it was, I published this paper here related to the plastic contamination in nests. Second, I quantified the plastic ingestion by gulls with the analysis of hundreds of regurgitates that were collected across natural, urban and landfill sites. I also linked the plastic burden on each regurgitate with the diet of the gulls. In the image here, you can see part of plastics and other anthropogenic materials that were found in only one regurgitate of a gull. I believe it was from urban site. But this is only a part. There were regurgitates from landfills that have much more plastic than this one. From this work, another paper was published, again with the relation relating the plastic burden with the diet of the species. Finally, I assessed the physiological and health costs of these anthropogenic impacts, also in two parts. And both of these parts are really relevant to my current work here at the EBD. First, with the help of a veterinary student, we performed more than 50 necropsies of gulls from wildlife rescue centers across Portugal. We quantified plastics in the digestive system of the gulls, including those that are not regurgitated. And we were able to have a clear picture of the state of the bird, the insides of the bird. From that, we published this paper, and we related the plastic loads with physiological markers. In this case, we used the fatty acid composition and body condition scores. We can see here, I'm sorry, this is a bit disgusting, but it's a gizzard from a urban, I believe it was a urban yellow-legged gull, and we can see bits of plastic within the gizzard. And second, finally, I conducted a diet manipulation experiment under controlled conditions. Basically, I gave hamburgers and sausages to a group of gulls, and then while the other group was fed with fish. This is not that simple, of course, but the goal was to experimentally assess the physiological impacts of an anthropogenic diet, a diet that is typical from urban habitats, from landfills, and it's a diet that it is rich in fat and calories, but is poor in essential nutrients. And stay tuned, because this paper is under review, hopefully. It will be published. And we can see this image here. It's just a physiological assessment. It's a blood smear from a gull, and we can see the red blood cells, the more elongated ones, and the round ones are the white blood cells. And this is just part of the health and the physiological assessment. In short, my work in Portugal established a multidisciplinary baseline covering areas from plastic exposure to physiological stress. This knowledge was what led me to my next chapter here at the EBD. My arrival here was facilitated by a project under the Plano Complementário de Biodiversidade, PCBio. This project is significantly larger in scope, which allows me to scale up from local and population-specific studies that I performed during my PhD to something more broader and more regional. The main goal of the PCBio project is to evaluate the impacts of anthropogenic activities, those that produce resource subsidies, like fishery discards and garbage dumps, on 3 key model species. the yellow-legged gull here on left, and with sampling locations here on the map in blue. And then the albino gull with the sampling locations here in red. And finally the Scopolis shearwater on the right here, with the sampling location in Catarina's Islands here in green. As we can see on this map, it is a large scale multi-assessment across. It's a large scale assessment across the Andalusia, the Gulf of Cadiz, and the Alboran Sea. Yeah. And it's the main goal, as I said, is to understand the full process, from identifying where and when the seabirds interact with these anthropogenic activities to assessing the resulting physiological consequences. We are using a multidisciplinary approach by combining spatial data and movement with diet through the stable isotopes and health by contaminant assessment and physiological status. My specific contribution to this project involves applying tracking and physiological methods to address the key questions of the project. I'm interested in investigating the trade-offs, again, that species face when, particularly the physiological consequences of these trade-offs, sorry. Agora, something really good about being here is the collaborative environment. My background in plastic contamination, as we saw, created a natural bridge to this plastic project. The project is investigating a crucial problem. How aquatic birds, including the yellow-legged gull, act as dispersal vectors of plastics and associated contaminants, moving them from hotspots like landfills to wetlands, to wetland ecosystems, habitats more vulnerable. My collaboration allows us to apply the methodologies and knowledge that I developed in Portugal during my PhD, particularly in quantifying plastic load and physiological health indicators to study the populations here in Spain. In fact, I've had the opportunity to participate in several campaigns of regurgitate and nest collection, and here we can see a regurgitate from a white stork. We can see the quantity of rubber bands, and then this is a part of the nest of a white stork as well, with a lot of plastic as well. Crucially, I also had the opportunity to participate and to apply my knowledge in and help with over 50 gull necropsies within the zooplastics project. And the overall context of this project is clear. We study the full circle of anthropogenic impacts, the changing in resource use, the physiological consequences, and the contamination risk. So, we already know that gulls use anthropogenic resources, but a fundamental question remains unanswered. On that balance that I showed you, between the gains and the costs, is there any energetic cost of exploiting these human-linked habitats? And to try to answer this, I'll move to the case study itself. So, the movements of animals are not random. They are strategic. They are shaped by the search for food and safe places, all of these come with energetic costs. Here in the balance again. As I mentioned before, human activities are reshaping the natural ecosystems and affecting the seabird ecology. And while this happens, some species struggle to adapt, while others like the gulls, like generalist seabirds, like gulls, are known to adapt to these changing environments because they are known to explore a wide variety of habitats and resources. This leads to the central question of optimal foraging. Okay. From an energy perspective, a species is expected to explore sites that maximize the energetic intake while minimizing the energy expenditure. However, we still have that question that I talked earlier. The energetic costs of exploiting these anthropogenic habitats remain poorly understood. So we know that these anthropogenic habitats, like garbage dumps, provide abundant and ready available food availability. But are there any energetic costs associated with the exploitation and competition for this food at these habitats? Are the costs worth the gains? Here again. And these trade-offs these trade-offs are the main point of this case study. But recent advances in GPS technology and accelerometry offer a unique opportunity to quantify this energy expenditure directly in free-ranging animals. And this allows to examine the ecological trade-offs associated with the exploitation of these habitats. In this study, we focus on the yellow-legged gull, which is a highly opportunistic and generalist species with an increasing reliance on human-derived resources. The objectives were simple. To characterize habitat use and behavior during the breeding season, and then to identify the main behavioral patterns across habitats they visit, and estimate energy expenditure across habitats and behaviors. We conducted this study at the Marismas del Odiel, which hosts an important yellow-legged gull breeding colony marked here with this orange square. During the 2015 breeding season, 18 breeding gulls were equipped with high-resolution GPS loggers, and this attachment was done with the Teflon wing harness, like a backpack, as we can see here. That's it, yeah. To focus our analysis, we concentrated on the late incubation and early chick rearing periods between middle May and middle June, with an entire month of data. And we also applied a speed filter where we exclude data points with the velocity higher than 5 kilometers per hour. This allowed us to exclude long distance travel, letting us specifically focus specifically on activity locations like resting, short distance travel, and more local movements. And this form our core data set for the next analysis. Once the goal locations were filtered, the next step was to characterize the habitat use. For that, we overlapped each goal position, GPS position, with high-resolution land cover habitat maps, and this allowed us to assign each GPS location to one of the 11 habitat types, ranging from natural areas to natural areas like wetlands and salt mines, to more anthropogenic areas such as garbage dumps and fishing ports, for instance. To determine the possible interactions with fishing vessels, we overlapped, we focus on at-sea positions here, and we overlap the at-sea positions with goal GPS with data from vessel monitoring system, the VMS, which provides a high-frequency location for vessels greater than 12 meters, I guess. For this, we only considered these fishing gears here, the bottom trawlers and the purse seiners that I had these codes like OTB refers to auto bottom trawlers and PS to push seiners. Yeah. It was only considered a co-occurrence when a gull was, it was considered a co-occurrence when a gull was within 500 meters of the GPS position with a temporal window of 10 minutes. And to understand how gulls were using the habitats and what they were doing, we used the acceleration data in two ways. One, to classify the behaviors, and other, to calculate the ODBA. First, we classified the behavior of each GPS fix. Acceleration. The acceleration data was processed using a machine learning algorithm, and this method allowed us to characterize movement into 5 behavior categories. These behavior categories I will show you later, but I can already tell you that it was active flight, which includes regular and the extreme flapping flight. It also inactive flight with soaring and maneuvering, resting, the resting behavior, sitting and standing or floating in the sea, and locomotory activity, including walking and terrestrial behavior and searching behavior. The fifth category, it's designated as other and included patterns that the algorithm could not fit into any of the previous categories. And second, we calculated the overall dynamic body acceleration, the ODBA. Basically, the accelerometers measure linear acceleration across 3 axes, X, Y, and Z. And this linear acceleration is then decomposed into the static and the dynamic acceleration. The static is not what interests us, and it was subtracted. It was the acceleration by the gravity-induced acceleration. But then we focus on the dynamic acceleration, which is the acceleration that is responsible for the movement of the bird. And so then we calculated the ODBA by summing the absolute values of the dynamic acceleration across the 3 axes, and it is represented in G-force units. And this is a widely accepted and non-invasive proxy for energy expenditure, allowing us to translate the physical activity of gulls into a quantified energetic cost. Going to the results, our gulls exploited a wide range of habitats as expected and confirming the generalist nature. Fishing ports and estuaries here in brown and yellow collectively dominated the visited locations with over than 50% of all recorded positions. On the opposite side, we noted that garbage dumps and agricultural areas were only visited occasionally, with less than 2% of the positions each. For the open sea, that I will focus on here in blue, it represents about 40% of the registered locations. Focusing specifically on the positions recorded at sea, we found an interesting result regarding interactions with fishing vessels. Most of the positions, 97% of the positions, occurred without any interaction with the fishing fleet. Only a small fraction, about 3%, of the positions were associated with purse seiners and trawlers. In terms of behavior, the analysis of the acceleration data showed a clear hierarchy. Resting behavior was by far the most detected behavior, accounting for almost 73% of all locations. This was followed by active flight and locomotory behaviors. and inactive flight was less frequent. As I previously mentioned, the other category of behavior, when the algorithm could not put the pattern into any of the previous behaviors, only accounted for 1.5% of all the positions. This other behavior was not removed from the statistical analysis, but it was removed from the next graphical representations I will show you. That's why you won't see it, because it does not represent an ecologically relevant result. We then explored how the probability of a gull exhibiting a specific behavior varied across different habitats. The gradient of colors on this heat map represent that probability, with darker colors with a higher probability of happening. Firstly, resting behavior was highly frequent across almost habitats, but it was particularly common in fish farms and salt mines here. In contrast, active flight and locomotory activities and locomotory behaviors were specially linked to anthropogenic activities. Active flight was particularly related with interactions with fishing vessels, the trawlers and the purseaners, while the locomotory activity was particularly related with garbage dumps. As for the energy expenditure per each habitat behavior, as expected, our analysis showed that the energy expenditure varied across the several behaviors. First, active flight was by far the most energetically demanding behavior, with highest ODBA values, followed by locomotory activity and inactive flight. As expected, the resting behavior presented the lowest energy demand with the lowest ODBA value. And finally, we come to the central result of this study, how the energy expenditure varies across different habitats exploited by gulls. The results show a clear pattern. Garbage dumps were the most energetically demanding habitat, here, closely followed by the interactions with fishing vessels, with trawlers and purseaners, as I already tell you. These environments require intense activity, which is consistent with the fact that active flight and locomotory behaviors were more associated with these habitats, as we've seen previously. Yeah. And exploiting these resources is clearly associated with a high energetic cost. In contrast, habitats like wetlands, fish farms, and salt mines were associated with the lowest ODBA values and the lowest energy expenditure. This finding is also consistent with the fact that the resting behavior was particularly common in these sites. And this suggests that they could function as a crucial low-energy refuges. Here we can see that our data reveal a clear trade-off. Gulls that incur, that go to these anthropogenic activities, these anthropogenic habitats, incur in a substantial energetic cost when pursuing, when going to these habitats. To explore this trade-off of incurring a substantial energetic cost when exploring these anthropogenic foods, anthropogenic subsidies, we run a model including the interaction between behavior and habitat, which is a bit more difficult to interpret, but it confirmed our central finding that active flight, here in green, maintain a significantly higher ODBA across all habitat types compared to the other behaviors you can see here. This analysis confirms that the decision to pursue resources in anthropogenic habitats fundamentally dictates the high energetic price paid by the individual. And this high cost must be balanced somehow, and that leads us directly to the discussion of this case study. Our results provide clear evidence that gulls face a dynamic energetic trade-off when selecting which habitats to explore. Looking at the anthropogenic habitats, we already know that these are commonly associated with predictable and abundant food sources, which is a major energetic gain, but our study showed that it is also involved with higher energetic costs. And this cost is driven by the energy required for active flight and locomotory behaviors, which are also exacerbated with competition with other gulls in exploring these habitats, as we can see here in this picture here. In contrast, more natural habitats such as wetlands and salt mines appear to function as an essential low-energy refuge. These sites, although likely offering less predictable food sources, here, appear to function as an essential low-energy refuge, as I already said, allowing birds to spend their time there resting and enable them to balance this trade-off of energy. It is important to note that ODBA is our proxy for energy expenditure, is highly reliable in capturing movement costs, but it does not capture essential processes like thermal regulation and basal metabolism. Nevertheless, it remains a powerful tool for free-ranking studies. In future work should include integrate these movement costs with physiological measures to predict a more comprehensive energy budget. Finally, our findings are especially relevant in the context of recent European policies, which are progressively reducing the fishery discards and anthropogenic waste in landfills, which are the predictable food resources that these gulls rely on. This reduction in food availability will force gulls to adjust their strategies, and while they are highly flexible and they could shift their habitat to more terrestrial and urban habitats, this will bring some more competition, conflicts, and ultimately energetic costs. To conclude the case study and wrap up everything, the data revealed the pressures that these opportunistic gulls face. Firstly, while human-derived food sources offer benefits, our findings, both from my PhD and this case study, confirm that resource exploitation involves significant trade-offs, including high energetic costs and increasing exposure to contamination. Second, preserving natural and low-energy habitats remains vital, as these sites are essential for enable species to manage their balanced costs. Looking forward, it is important to integrate all of these pieces and combining spatial ecology, energetics, physiology, and ecotoxicology in a multidisciplinary science in a way that we can understand and predict the wildlife responses to changing environments. I must say that this case study is a manuscript already almost ready for submission, and any questions you may have, it's good to improve the quality, I hope, of the manuscript. Thank you. Thank
you very much for your talk. Do we have questions from the audience?
Hi, thank you for the talk, really nice talk. So do you know when the gulls choose to go for the fishing vessels and to the garbage dumps? So what's the driver? Did you try to cross this with daily schedule activities?
I know there are works that already did that, but here it was not the the main focus of the work. We know that they use garbage dumps, but this was during the breeding season, and during the breeding season they are constrained by the chicks, and they have to give them more natural prey, let's say, for the physiology of the chicks. And I believe that maybe they go to fishing ports, for instance, that they have the fish there ready available, and it is easier to capture those kind of prey than competition and so on in with interactions with fishing vessels. I don't know if I answered.
What's the locomotory behavior?
Locomotory behavior is like walking and terrestrial behavior of walking.
Thank you. It was a very interesting talk. I was just asking two questions. Like, I get that if you think, I mean, getting the knowledge like ingesting a lot of plastics then has deep physiological effects. Do you know if there's a range of ages that these seagulls exploit? Like high cost, high reward anthropogenic scenarios are used by young seagulls that have not ingested so much plastic, and maybe the resting places are mainly occupied by old or sick seagulls to like kind of link the effects of taking a lot of microplastic, taking a lot of plastic into the biology to this kind of exploitation strategies?
I don't know if I understand your question. I believe that you are asking about the physiological effects, if they kind of vary with the age.
Yeah, if you can correlate the plastic intake or the high cost, high reward scenarios with seagulls that are young, like they have high fitness, they are competitive, or they are not sick, and then as they carry on diseases, or they like have their physiology affected by the plastic intake or whatever, that I assume they will be more common in the anthropogenic areas to have landfills and plastic intake. They get now to go to, they cannot afford the costs of those places, so they go to resting places like the salt mines or anything like that. Do you think that that's possible?
I believe that they go to landfills because the food is already available there, but the quality of the food is not that good. It's anthropogenic food, which is rich in fat and calories and so on, but it's one of my works proved that the food from landfills doesn't have the essential nutrients, let's say. And I believe that, I don't know if I answer your question, maybe not.
Yeah, that's fine.
Does the same seagull use all of the habitats? Like, because you studied different seagulls,
18.
and did you find different patterns depending on maybe their personality?
That was not the main focus of this work, but from previous works we know that some gulls are like specialized in certain habitats, while others are generalist and they use everything. But some individuals are like specialized in, I believe it was in fishing farms, I guess, but I'm not sure. There are some individuals that specialize in certain habitats. Say. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question regarding the transponders. So you said you put the transponders on using tiny harnesses. So for sure you can't equip all of them, and it won't affect them because otherwise you wouldn't get the permissions to put the little harnesses on. Do the conspecifics without the harnesses recognize the others as being like different, or just out of curiosity?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think so. But it's a good question.
It's a weird one. Well, it just came to my mind. Do we have more questions?
You can ask in Spanish if you like, but I will answer in English, sorry.
So when they're in open sea, you said it's surprising that they were 97% of the time.
No, it was 19% without, because it was only 40% of the all habitat use, 40% only in the open sea.
Yeah,
The 97 was referring to without interactions with fishing vessels.
So they are resting, the gulls, in open sea, or
They are resting because resting is the most
right.
found behavior. But they could do other things. They could fish, but yeah.
So you didn't kind of separate the budgets for the open sea only.
Yeah, but
So
no,
between resting and
everything
active
as
life,
in general.
okay.
Yeah.
Maybe to help to
See,
see this
yeah.
divide.
Thank you.
Okay, I will check if there is something online. No, there isn't. Do we have more questions?
I have only one thing. Can you put the conclusion of the final slide that you see all the different. A bit back, please. It was the one
This
graph.
one?
Yeah. So I have one question with this, because you say that costly exploiting anthropogenic habitats is energetically expensive. But then in the graphs you see like the salt mines, that in my take is like a highly anthroponized area, does not have any kind of energy expense. It's actually a resting place.
See,
So
I believe
it's like,
so.
and there's also beaches, different places. So it's more of the how intensive the anthropogenic presence is in those areas that is like actually a managed place. Like a salt mine is an extensive, very extensive, little anthropogenic presence there. I mean, it's the building or the place. I guess it's a highly impact activity, but then the salt lake seems to be a resting place. So maybe, I don't know if you can, also that can be interesting to see like there can be positive.
Can be possibly instead of a natural place, it would be a more anthropogenic place, you would say.
Yeah, it's
mines.
A very anthropogenic place, but it's within the wetlands with the peaceful areas of
Peaceful,
resting. So it's
yeah.
something to consider.
Something to consider. Thank you.
Okay, do we have more questions? Yeah.
Thanks. You find, if I am, that foraging activity is more expensive in terms of costs than the non-foraging activity, no? Something like this, or that?
No, because here we didn't focus specifically on foraging activity,
Okay,
because
so
like that we would exclude like the resting behavior, I would say. We focus on activity and not exclusively on foraging.
Okay, so I have a question, like if the anthropogenic habitats are more costly instead of exploration, is it because the girls forage a lot there? And that I would expect that foraging is the most costly activity?
Yeah, I would say so.
Is it just because they are more expensive to explore intrinsically, like, or is it just because the girls go to forage?
I would say that here the behavior they present on each habitat, it's more important to explain the energetic cost than the habitat itself. And so, yeah, if they go directly to, let's say, an anthropogenic area or so on, they will have to compete for resources, and because of that they will have like more active flight and behaviors that are more costly. And so this is why we studied not only the energy to each behavior and the energy connected to each habitat, but also the behaviors that are presented in each habitat. And that's how we try to put everything together. I don't know if I answered, maybe
Yeah, I
not.
see. Yeah. But I am wondering if we remove, for example, the fishing boat, fishing vessels, would they spend less energy or more energy
I would say they will spend a lot of energy because they are actively trying to catch the fish, let's say,
Yeah.
and to compete, because we all have seen those fishing boats with lots of gulls, and they are like competing for resources, and so the behavior would be more active flight and something more active, and therefore the energy would be higher.
Okay. Thanks.
Because they are, I don't know if they are not going to rest on a fishing vessel, I would say.
Yeah, I was curious, how did you know the fishing vessels' positions? Did you have the GPS position of the boats?
Seeing the VMS data. VMS data, it registers. There are European normatives, I guess, that they are fishing vessels larger than 12 meters, I believe. It's mandatory for them to have a GPS position, and they must send their position through that system in, I believe it's 2 hours, each 2 hours.
Not for the small boats, no?
For the
small ones.
small ones, no.
So because I was surprised that you found a little low percentage of habitat use, and maybe it's because you are missing the small ones.
We are missing the more artisanal fleets, the boats. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions?
Everyone's hungry.
This is not the case. We see each other next week for the next seminar. Thank you very much again, Catarina.
Thank you.